Farno. I am Howard. Welcome to April and gardening on the Kaipara. Not sure there's much gardening happening today though. Okay Farno, so the storm has now passed, which we're all grateful for. In terms of the damage that's been done, well, the coop, the cover that we have over the wire mesh, that's been pretty wrecked, so we're going to have to replace that. Most awful of all, probably one of the standard roses is snapped in half. Lynn's busy at the moment just taking a whole load of cuttings from that, just to see if we can rescue something out of it. Up here on the veggie plot, peas got a bit damaged with the frame being moved. Most upsetting probably is the tomatoes from the autumn have snapped, which is quite upsetting. The offside of that is that the tomatoes here in the polytunnel are doing really well, so hopefully that will offset that. Also looking around the veggie plot, many of the things that I sowed direct into the soil last month don't seem to have come through. So the carrots not come through, parsnip hasn't come through, spinach didn't come through, the spring onions didn't come through. So I'm going to have to think about what I'm going to do about that. So Farno, continuing on with the theme of gardening on a thrifty budget, today I'm going to try and take some rose cuttings. The roses have been beautiful this year and really keen to try and increase the number. So we've watched lots of YouTube videos and we're going to see how we get on. Okay, so the first thing we do apparently is to take a cutting above a leaf node, and I'm going to take it here because I want a little bit of stalk still left on the rose, because we've only got one main branch of that rose left to be able to grow. And then we take this into the polytunnel and see what we can do with it. Okay, so now in the polytunnel, get down to the business of this. What the books say is you should then take, having cut it at the above a leaf joint, you then cut it below the leaf joint here. Strip off leaves where you're going to get the root. Take out the flowering top. And then take off the thorns. I have to say, this particular one has a lot of thorns on it. But anyway, they're coming off pretty easily. Having taken off all of the thorns, you then dip it in some water. Dip it in hormone rooting powder, give it a tap apparently, and then pop it down the side of a pot. And as always, they say that's all there is to it. And of course, we know different. But anyway, that's what they say you do. Anyway, there we go. Into water. The hormone rooting powder, and the side of the pot. So as a little experiment, we actually took some rose cuttings from the standard roses, I think it was yesterday or the day before with Lynn, and we're going to do those just in water and do a bit of a comparison test of the two methods, see if there's any difference in how they perform. Of course, the pessimist in me says that neither will work, but there we go. Okay, so there we have 3 rose cuttings done. And I've managed to pick up a beautiful little Braeburn apple tree. End of the season. I'm not going to put it in the ground. I'm just going to put it into a tub for the winter and put it somewhere sheltered and then plant it out in the spring. I don't normally buy fruit trees at this time of the year, just because it's normally the last pickings. But this one was just in a little hardware store, so I think it's escaped people's notice. It's a great little shape. It seems in really good order. So yeah, I thought, well, $32, you can't say no, can you? So I picked that one up on the quiet. So I'm just going to pop it into the pot, and hopefully come spring, she'll be good to go. Okay, Brano, well, it's getting towards the end of April, and it's been a very wet month, I have to say, and we've got another storm coming in about an hour and a half now. So I thought I'd just dive into the polytunnel here and get some seeds underway, because those who've watched this for a while will know that getting plants out into the garden and seeds going, especially succession sowing, I'm really not good at. I tend to get focused on the big jobs, like getting the lawns cut and things moved and dirt shifted and stuff, and the fun stuff gets left to another day, and it's always another day, unfortunately. So yeah, I thought I'd make the most of the bad weather to try and get a last little bit of jobs done before I have to dive inside. And so what I'm going to be sowing is some spring onion again, because I can never get that to actually get going. Some celery, going to try some cucumber for here in the polytunnel, some spinach, and some curly leaf parsley. I've already got some Italian parsley out there that's doing good. So yes, this is the plan. I also want to say thank you so much to all the people who've subscribed over the last month. seems to have had a big influx of people subscribing. I was chatting with Lynn about it just the other day, and that whole imposter system thing kicks in, where I'm like, I hope people don't think that I know what I'm doing, because if you come here for expert advice, you're in seriously the wrong place. What you're watching here is the bumblings of a fool in the garden. And the reason I do this vlog, or the reason I started it really, is because first of all I wanted to just journal what I'm doing so I can see the next year. And also, this is a new build house, so we moved in July 2023, so less than 2 years ago. And it was an absolute building site, quite literally. And what I wanted to do was just record for posterity, if you will, the journey, which an expression I hate, but the progress made on the house over time, particularly the garden. And then on top of that, my family back in England, especially my middle brother who has an allotment, we'd have conversations about how's it going, what are you doing in yours, what am I doing in mine, and it just seemed much easier to just video it. So those were kind of the main reasons why I started doing the vlog. And for some reason people seem to enjoy watching the madness and find it quite entertaining, which I really like. But essentially that's why you'll find that I do quite a few shots of, you know, the harbour and sunsets and stuff, but it's mainly just so that my family back in England can get a view of what New Zealand's like. Okay, so there we go, another set of seeds underway, and we'll see if we get any joy from these ones. Not sure we'll get much joy from the cucumber ones, having knocked the pot as I moved it over, but we'll see. So for the moment, storms have passed, got a bit of a respite, so I thought I'd do a quick plot tour now while the going's good. Okay, so I thought we'd start from this end this month. Hopefully you can see things looking okay considering the storms that have been through. Starting with the first two beds. In this opening bed we've got some spinach, some radish, bare ground ready for anything, and some lettuce at the end. We had the first of the radishes yesterday evening actually in a salad, and they were really good. The carrot bed really looking like it's coming along. First 3 rows of carrots, I could probably take a small picking if I wanted to, but I just wanted them to bulk up a little bit. Hopefully you can see there, things looking pretty good. And the second sowing that I did is also making good progress. I probably need to thin those in the next week or so. The bed has all died down now, and so we're just taking a few of those at a time. Up to the next set of beds, the broad bean bed, looking like it's needing a bit of a weed. But the broad beans have struggled a bit in the wind. I think you can see that a couple of them there have gone a bit yellow. But they're beginning to put on a little bit of growth again now. I have to say, generally in the garden, it's been very wet, but it's still been quite warm, and you could almost hear the grass growing. I'd cut it and it had already grown a couple of inches within a couple of days. It was quite extraordinary. The asparagus bed here, nicely dying down. I'm pleased about that, which might sound odd. Last season it didn't seem to know what it was doing, but now I feel like it's established itself quite well. So I'll probably trim that down next month, I think. Both the strawberry beds are doing well. They've been putting on some really good growth, but I'm not sending any runners actually off them at the moment. We've actually had quite a few little harvests off them, which has been a little bonus. So they're moving up to the next lot of beds, and this is the first of the brassica beds. This is the cabbage, and we've got a good row there and a second row which I put in a couple of weeks ago, which is establishing itself nicely. I have to say we've been quite ravaged with the old cabbage whitefly, and thinking about ways to net them off, but I haven't done that yet. The beetroot which we sowed is coming up nicely down the edge. No sign of the carrot on the other side though, so I'm going to have to redo that. Moving further down, so this bed had the tomatoes in, but I found that they all had little holes in, grubs in them, so I pulled them all up and put a second bed of carrots in. Bukikoi long keeper again, and then just down the edges I've got some coriander that's gone in and a couple of new marigolds. The autumn tomato bed, as I'm calling it, is doing okay. This row at the front here was completely blown down in the wind, snapped off, but they seem to be putting on some new shoots, so hopefully we'll get something. And I think you can see here we are getting some tomatoes coming off them, and any is a bonus at this point. But yeah, they're looking pretty good actually, considering. And to the top of the next bed and the next brassica bed, this is the Cavallonero, again heavily chomped by the cabbage whitefly. I wasn't able to put any derris dust down because it's just been too wet, but it's beginning to come back a bit now. The parsley on here had gone to seed, and I was on the verge of pulling it up, but actually it's sending out some new stuff, so I might leave that. Silver beet, we're getting plenty of pickings off that now, both for us and the chickens. That's really good. We've harvested a couple of the bok choy, which has been really good. I did sow another lot, but they didn't do very well, so I might need to do another succession sowing of those. Beans, we've had some really good crops off. Not enough really to freeze, but certainly enough for 3 or 4 dinners, which has been good. This bed had the courgettes in, is now cleared and will be used for the garlic. The garlic's currently sitting in the fridge so that it can get down to a nice cold temperature, so it splits, and that will probably go into this bed in a couple of weeks time. Also got a little nursery of marigolds here that I'm going to pot up and move around the veggie pot. And then the other bed of onions, this one's been in for probably 6 weeks now. You can see they're all established nicely, and what I'm really pleased about, I don't know if you can pick it up, down either side of the beds, the chives have really taken off, so I should have a nice good strong supply of those come next year. We actually really like chives in a lot of things, so really pleased with how this bed's looking. Up to the last of the beds, and this is the brassica bed here. These are broccoli, and these have really struggled. They've been really chomped hard by the cabbage white over the time. Moving down to this bed, the lettuce has been doing really well. just been taking leaves from the outside, apart from one that looked like it was about to bolt, and I took that one out. This is a sowing of Monge 2. It's been in a few weeks now and is beginning to come through. I think it's a pretty good germination at this point. A bit hard to see, it's still coming through. And we've got a bit of coriander again at the ends. And the bit that's empty is probably going to have some spinach in there, I'm thinking. And the last bed, the beetroot is doing really well. I don't know if you can see the size of that one there. Really happy with how these have done. And the peas beyond, don't quite, the wind blew the plastic right out of shape, so I hope that's not going to be a problem. But you can see the peas are doing really well, and I'm really happy with that. And along the front I've got 2 rows of leeks. The top bed is probably the bed of shame at the moment, desperately in need of a weed. It's been very difficult to get to it though with the weather, and it's probably going to be quite a big job, so I might have to break that down into bite-sized pieces to get it done. Definitely want to get the rhubarb free of the couch grass as quickly as possible there. And if the unweeded bed is the bed of shame, then the polytunnel is the polytunnel of happiness. I'm so pleased with how these tomatoes are coming along. So these are theoretically tomatoes for the winter, and I think you can see at the moment they're doing outstandingly well. We've got tomatoes happening down at the far end, and they're all looking strong and healthy. I'm going to give them a feed this afternoon. I've got one problem here, just on this one here. I'm not quite sure what's going on at the top there. Doesn't look quite so good, but all the others doing really well. I'll just swing you around to the roses that you saw me taking the cuttings of at the start of the year, and you can see they've not done so well. These are the only 2 that are left that are kind of hanging on, so I don't know if that's going to be a success or not. However, Lynn also put a whole load of them just into water in the house with some rooting powder, and they have been springing out new leaves, so we're hopeful that those ones might have been a success. So that's a point to Linny. On the bench, some cauliflower, bought unfortunately, but sometimes that's what you have to do. These seeds were all done just a couple of days ago, and not sure if we're going to get any soil success with those yet, so we'll watch this space. And just some basil in the end, which I'm hoping to overwinter as well. So overall, I think that the veggie plot is looking pretty good for the time of year, especially with the storms that have been coming through. And already prepped for next month and getting stuff in it, which is good. Really pleased to have a second bed of onions in, because we do use quite a lot of onions, and the one bed didn't last us very long. Okay, so there's not much else to see around the garden at the moment. However, what we did find during the storms was that the chicken coop was becoming a bit of a river runs through. So you can see here we've shifted the coop up a little bit, so it's a bit higher, and so hopefully the rain won't be going and pooling in their space. Took a bit of an effort, but we managed it, and we'll just leave this to green up over again. The trees themselves now are beginning to settle down for winter. Pears have already pretty much lost their leaves, and everything else is definitely looking like they're going to drop in the next couple of weeks. Okay, whānau, so there we go, that's the end of April. I hope wherever you are safe, and I'll see you again